Hello, everyone. My name is Julie, and this is Unordinary Made Ordinary, where we talk about extraordinary experiences of ordinary, everyday people. And today we are talking with Dr. Laurence Brock. Thank you so much for joining us, Dr. Brock. I really appreciate you taking this time.
You're welcome. I'm happy to be here.
So
Love to
we,
talk about this stuff.
yeah, I love talking about this stuff, my favorite thing. So before we get into your experiences, maybe you can just give us a little bit of information about yourself, a little background, if that's okay.
Yeah, one thing you said, ordinary people. I guess I'm kind of ordinary, but kind of extraordinary too, which from experiences. But I live an ordinary life in the suburbs of New York and New Jersey, and uh, I'm a single dad. I have a 17-year-old daughter who is a big part of my life, and I'm really blessed to have. I mean, I'm blessed to have the spiritual experience part of the near-death experience. The almost dying, that part is not a blessing, but I get to do amazing work and help people connect into that energy that I connected into in my near-death experience, and people get better in so many ways. It's really I I don't mind-blowing. I mean, it's really cool what I get to do and participate in. It's really a special thing. So but I'm on the PTA. I have to pay my bills and all that that kind of stuff. My daughter's getting planning for college for next year, and so it's a lot of work doing that with her. But I love it. I love being a dad.
Wonderful. Yeah, I relate. Love being a parent. So I guess I'll just ask you what what got you interested in this subject matter? Was it your experience or were you already interested in this topic?
I was a little interested, but not really.
Hmm.
I can look back and see how my life before that experience was leading in this direction, and I often say if I was really listening, I wouldn't have had to crash my car and have that part of it, because um,
Oh,
I had some things happen to me that were definitely spiritual and quite profound. I just kind of dismissed them. I did start doing yoga before that, and happened to know my girlfriend gave me Herman Hesse books and things like that. But part of the reason I did it is because I like my girlfriend. So.
so I guess I'm interested. Okay, was this this near-death experience that you had? Was it your very first spiritual experience?
No,
Oh,
I guess the biggest thing that happened, well, I was always very intuitive and sometimes would see people's auras. But I just really thought that was normal, to tell you the truth, and didn't realize not
oh,
everyone could do that. I also saw my passed away grandfather in the movies one time, and all these things I just kind of let go because I
you
mean no
brushed
one
them aside?
yeah, pretty much. I mean, but that thing with my grandfather, I mean, I saw him and he's a unique looking person. He looked as real
Mhm.
as a physical person, and I just kind of I didn't know what to make of it. Now I would have some idea in my mind what to do. uh, so that then this was really the biggest, as far as that, the biggest thing that really changed after my near-death experience. I started meeting a lot of people that had near-death experiences. I started meeting spiritual teachers. I got involved with some, and that's when I knew what to do in my thinking, in my mind, with all these spiritual experiences I've had.
Mhm.
Plus, it was like I was going along like this, and my near-death experience moved it way up here, kind of thing. So,
How long ago did you see, you said it, in the movie theater?
yes.
He was
So
sitting next to you, or how did you
he
see him?
was, I was in the movie theater sitting on the side. And I like to sit in the middle, but I was there with a bunch of friends and there weren't enough seats together. So we sat a little to the side, maybe in the 10th row. and I saw this man from the back, and my grandfather was unique
Okay.
looking. He was big, tall, big. He also had a haircut like mine, which back in those days wasn't the most common thing. And I, on purpose, walked around this way to the, past the front of the, he was in the front row. I walked that way and to look at him, and I saw him. It was definitely him. And I was with my brother. So I didn't stop. People sometimes say, "Didn't you say hello to him?" I didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't even know what to do with it in my mind. And I said to my brother, "Did you see Pop in the front row there?" He said, "No." And again, he didn't make that big a deal of it either. And I just let it go and went about my business.
Wow. How long ago was that?
That was many years ago. So let's see, like 45 years ago. So I was in my
Oh,
late teens, like
wow.
mid teens. Yeah.
Oh my. Okay. So, so not a whole, and your background non-religious or
I
non-spiritual?
was from a Jewish family, so we'd go to temple once in a while, and wasn't religious at all. You know,
Okay. So can I just ask,
you can ask anything.
can we get into the, like, the experience? How long ago did you have this near death experience?
I in 1976, so a
Oh,
while ago. Yeah,
how old were you then? If that's
I
okay to
was
ask.
like 22.
Oh, very young, a young
Yeah,
man. Okay,
yes,
my
yes.
goodness. Um, so I would love if you could just sort of explain, what happened to you at that
So
time.
I was at a party and drinking, and
Hmm.
it was kind of a funny story because I didn't feel like I was that high, and I don't drink or do any of that stuff now at all, but back in those days, people didn't really think twice about drinking and driving. It wasn't like it is now.
Mm,
And so I do remember, so I I went with a friend. I asked him to give me a ride home, mostly so I could go back the next day to pick my car up and talk to the girl who was having the party. I didn't feel like I was too high, but I was staying at my parents because I had been living in Colorado and then came back east to visit my parents, and this was there.
I see.
Um, so when I was almost back to my parents' house, I realized my sister needed to use. I took my mom's car, use the car the next morning. So I told my friend, "Bring me back. I got to get." And you know, I do remember after that, I went inside just to tell the young lady that I was taking my car. And I remember leaving the party, and you know, I do these interviews, and so I think about it, but even the image of the party it was a little hazy, and how sometimes when you drink, the colors are a little too bright. I should have known then I shouldn't have driven.
Mm,
But so the next thing I knew after that, I don't remember getting in the car or driving. The next thing I remember is being out of my body, above, looking down at my physical body that was sitting on the ground up against a tree. A police officer was crouching above me. Uh, the car was really smashed, and my head was, cut open. Yes. So that's that part. The other
oh,
thing was, so I was in white light all around me. Behind me was a circle of a different shade of white light. Within that circle was like a human white being, just all white. I couldn't see any features at all. And it felt the feeling part of it. I'm a very kinesthetic person in my physical body too. So feeling was really the main experience. It just felt so nice. I compare it to a beautiful summer day, just on one of those days that's the perfect temperature and perhaps a gentle breeze, and it
mm,
just feels almost like you're in the water because it's so nice out. And it just, even though I saw my body there smashed, everything seemed fine. I seemed to understand everything in the world was fine, and felt this loving, warm energy that was just like everything's good. Everything everywhere is good. Uh, in I don't know how long it was. It seemed like either there was no time or a lot of time. The being behind me said, you have to go back. Your father wants you to stay. And I knew right then the father that that being was talking about was God, not my physical father. And in the spirit of everything's just okay, I went back into my body. I didn't question it at all and came to 3 days later in the hospital.
Were you, so during the white light experience and the being, and you could still see your body at the same time, your physical body?
Yes.
Okay, so this is all happening at
So
the
I was
same time.
looking this way at my body, and down there it was dark because it was nighttime, but where I was, it was all white.
Oh.
And I wasn't looking behind me, but what I described to you, I could see, I guess, in my inner vision or whatever.
Hmm.
You know, someone asked me not that long ago, they said, I guess you could see behind you then. I go, I guess so.
Hmm.
I didn't even think, how did I know what was behind me?
Hmm.
I was looking this way. It was just like kind of this all-knowing thing that you just kind of knew, everything, but also you didn't need to know anything. So it's just everything was good. That's all.
Wow. Yeah. So sort of like, sounds like sort of like a 360 vision, but it was more uh, hyper vision than that
Yeah, yeah.
because it was
It's
a
because you
whole
say that
sense.
there's a certain dimension to it. I don't know. I just knew what was there.
Right.
I didn't think about how I saw it until maybe less than a year ago when someone asked me about that, actually.
Wow. So you find yourself back in the hospital
Yeah.
and then what happened?
I didn't tell anyone about that part of it for a while. There was the part of interacting with the doctor and the nurse and, them telling me basically, you almost died. And so I didn't really do anything with that for quite a while until, uh, so my mom kind of bribed me to move back east
Mm.
instead of living out in Colorado. I was working in a restaurant as a chef there, and she bought me a brand new Jeep in, to bribe me to move back east and work for my dad's electrical contracting company. One day I was sitting in my apartment and someone knocked on the door. And, it was before cell phones. So I didn't think now if someone knocks on my door, it's like, who's there? If I don't know they're coming. But there was this beautiful woman at the door, and she introduced herself. She was the sister of a good friend of mine. And she said, my sister said some things about you, and I just want to meet you. So she introduced me to the first spiritual teacher that I worked with. And it's kind of cool because she just showed up at my door. And, I take my spiritual work very seriously and I do a lot, but a lot of it just kind of has happened to me since then. And that's a thing that's changed in my near-death experience. It's like it's my life is meant to be that, things just
Mm.
happen. And,
Oh no, so this woman who had she heard about your near-death experience? Is that why
no,
she?
I
Oh,
don't think so. No.
what a coincidence.
What a coincidence, exactly. And they say there's no coincidence, and it wasn't. So she introduced me to this Sufi sheikh, and when he started to talk to me about certain things, it just like, oh, now it starts to make sense. My experience that I
Mm.
didn't really know. So first he started to talk to me about Mary. So even he's an Islamic, he passed away, an Islamic teacher, but Mary is part of the Islamic religion, even though it's
Oh.
so when he talked about Mary's love of God and how she was so open to receive the Christ energy, I
Mm.
thought, wow, that was my experience of what it was like receiving that energy in my near-death experience. When he started to talk about Jesus, I go, oh, just the feeling it was Jesus was that person behind me.
Oh.
He talked about the ocean of divine love and benevolence, and I go, oh, that was the white light that I was in. And I just needed to know about this more. So it ended up, he had a near death experience, and a lot of people that studied with him did. I started studying like the Tibetan Book of the Dead.
Mhm.
The term near death experience was coined around that time, but
Mhm.
I never heard of it. But I studied death from a lot of different traditions and, listened to this man who And he would always say to me, I'm not your real teacher, but you can stay around me till we find someone. And I would say to him, who's we? What are you talking about? And like most things that I asked him, he just kind of smiled and didn't answer me.
And how
But it
long
was
did
good.
you
I
stay
learned
with him?
a few years.
And did you find another spiritual teacher that was better, well, that was suited to where you were headed at that time?
Yes, and that's another good story. So this Sufi sheikh was a Mevlevi dervish, a Mevlevi sheikh, and they did the whirling. And but the Mevlevi dervishes follow the teachings of Jalaluddin Rumi, the poet that
Hmm.
has become very famous. So there's a book that he wrote a lot of things, but the the main book of the teaching is called the Mathnawi, and you do readings from there. So it's a 3 volume, well, it's 6 volumes, but in 3 books, and you sort of do this thing where you hold a question inside and you move your thumb across, and you get the right reading. And it's written in poems and stories, so a lot of times it's you almost had to figure out what it meant, how it would apply to uh, your situation. But so a friend of mine offered me to pay for me to go to Virginia Beach and pay for me to be in this workshop of this person she thought I should meet as a different spiritual teacher. So I did a reading in the Mathnawi, but it was really quite amazing because it was very specific. So this person that I went to meet would write, he has these little booklets called discourses, and in the Mathnawi, they're called discourses also. So I did a thing and I read open, it said, you know, it said very clearly, before you do these discourses and go meet the person and listen to them with your spiritual ear, not your physical ear. And I was like, wow, this was so specific. And so I went to meet that person, and then I realized that was someone I should really know. I didn't lose contact with the Sufi person because he really served me well and did a lot. So
What is your spiritual, how would you describe the spiritual ear?
well, just listening inwardly, listening with your heart. And, even you say that, I just want to close my eyes and go inside. And it's
Mhm,
kind of going inside and seeing what,
mhm,
things are spiritually, not just well, let's see. So I say this to people a lot when I'm talking to them, when I'm working with them, or even doing interviews or lectures, to listen to what's behind it. In one way, there is no way to describe the spiritual experiences. There's just no way. It's too amazing. It's too big. And so there's the part behind it, like the feeling that you get inside hearing the words, and how it opens your heart up, how it opens your mind, and just causes this like little smile inside. So
mhm,
that is listening with your spiritual ear.
mm. And how long were you under the training of mentors? Because I know now you're a teacher, but
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah, I do teach people, but I don't like to call myself a spiritual teacher at all. I think that's not my place. But I guess that's the thing is, you can't, people learn kind of inside of them and learn from, you know, God, I guess. So I'm still learning. I still study with people. It's not over. If you think it is, if you think you made it, you're wrong. You got to keep going. There's always more to do. So,
so this near-death experience really was your it was like an intensified schooling or something,
it
spiritual
was, yeah.
schooling for you to
Yeah,
get with the
or
program, I guess.
get with the
With
yes, a kick in the butt to get with the program. So, and it's not always easy. I mean, I'm very fortunate to make a living doing this, but it's still a
mm,
lot of work, and it's not an easy business to be in. And
mm,
it's there is the practical part of working, and working and working and help. It's a great discipline. I meditate every day. I do Tai Chi. I do journal
mm,
writing. I spend hours every day making sure I'm taking care of myself, being on track. It is easy for your ego and imagination to get off track in there with these cool things, but to keep that on track and keep my energy field and body clear energetically to work with people in the highest way.
Have you had any other experiences, near death, out of body, divine intervention, spiritual, i.e.,
Yes,
spiritual, since
yes, so
that
many.
time? Any you want
Yeah,
to share, with us?
yeah. Let's see. There's yeah, one comes to this was a while ago. I was trying to pause for a second and think of ones I haven't shared on interviews, but I was living, this was in a different place in New Jersey. I was out on the deck and I came back in and it was like a, big room with like a dining area. And at the dining table, there was this beautiful woman sitting there and she looked physical as could be. I could feel by the energy she was, even though she was beautiful, she was a negative, she was a demon. So
Oh,
um,
interesting.
for a while, it's like I kind of panicked a little bit because,
Hmm.
that's, but then I realized what you do and how to get rid of that. So I did
Oh,
that.
please share. How do you get rid of it?
Well, the thing that the so Jesus, when Jesus came in and brought in the Jesus energy of grace and forgiveness, that sort of gave us authority. And the whole thing that happened between Lucifer and Jesus, it's in the Bible, gave us as humans a certain authority over the negative forms. So I just asked for the Christ light, and
Mm.
then she knows, yeah, I gotta leave. She got this look on her face, like being kind of annoyed. And then she went by, and I felt a little like shiver kind of thing, but then she left.
Now, does this mean you have some kind of vision into the spiritual sometimes?
Yes, all,
Well, I mean,
yes,
you
all
said you
the
see
time.
auras, so maybe that's what you were seeing
Yes,
from the
I don't.
beginning.
So all of those things, now it's kind of like mostly I have to choose to do it, which is good.
Mm.
Um, yes, I see a lot of different things. So there are thousands of angels around and thousands of positive things. There are the negative things are
So
there
you
too.
can open that up or close that vision off.
Yes.
If do you have, is there a name or label for that, Claire or something or other? I know there's a lot of Claires and
Yeah, I don't know. I'm
third
always
eye and
reluctant to, I just been using spiritual intuit lately because, being
spiritual intuit.
clairvoyant is, I don't like psychic, clairvoyant. I don't know. It just seems to be, I want to be making sure I'm going for the highest perspective.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
anything it's good to label things in the spirit because it's part of how we get authority over it, but it's also, you don't want to get stuck in what you knew before. You want to always be
Right.
like,
Keep
what's
it,
going
stay,
on now?
expand it, allow it to expand a little bit as
Yes,
you
and
grow and learn
stay
and
in the now, in the
experience.
present, so that you're being real instead of what's in your mind. And
Mm.
so right now I'm saying spiritual intuit. For a while I was saying clairvoyant, but I don't know when I
Yeah,
switched.
I mean, there's a lot of different labels, so sometimes it's hard to have these conversations
Yeah.
to know what people
Well,
are
even
talking about.
within like I was saying, behind the words, there's the spirit. And, like someone, I guess astrology is a good thing because some people use it in a very high way. Some people use it in a way that kind of scares them, you know what I mean? So we're
Yes,
looking for that
yes.
high thing and that God's love and wisdom comes through. And then in a certain way, it doesn't really matter what you do. Some people do that. Playing sports, anything. Someone was asking me about, oh, making money. Yeah, even making money can be that. And obviously, making money, some people use that in a very negative way. Some people use it in a very positive way.
Can I ask you what if you know, or your interpretation, why that negative, beautiful being came to you? Why was it there? Do you know?
Um, I don't. I never really thought of that. That's so when I work with people, there's, mostly, well, there's part where I look and I can see this beautiful, wonderful thing in the person. And then in order to clear the way for them to get more to that, there's the part of getting rid of the negative forms. And then a lot of times there's past life patterns to clear. So I see those things a lot because I know people want to feel better, they want to be healthier, they want to be happier. And a lot of it has to do with clearing that. I don't know, a lot of times, sometimes I go places and these negative things kind of just come around me because they want to be saved, really, and
Mm.
they, they have a sense. Sometimes that happens to clients too once they start working with me. It's kind of cool.
So what is your what would you consider your title, or do you have a title?
Yeah, I mean, I like
I mean,
Dr.
just spirit,
Brock. That's
just
kind of
spiritual,
cool.
intuitive,
Spiritual intuit. Yeah, again,
intuit.
I'm always
Okay.
kind of playing around with that to see. So years ago, before I started my practice, I was talking to someone. I said, I don't know what to call what I do. And they said, just call it a session. Like, why is that stopping you? So I've lived by that motto. Like, doesn't matter what I call what I do. Or,
Okay. Yeah, because I've talked to others, and they don't want to be called a medium or a
yeah,
channeler. They're not sure, or a psychic, and they really don't know how to label themselves because it kind of
yeah,
everything is sort of too limiting
it is. Yeah.
and might give
They
the
just
wrong
call themselves
impression.
awesome.
Yeah.
It's good to be positive about it and understand it is a gift, and that gift is meant to be honored and respected in a way that, you know, I like to look at what I do and think how cool it is, but there's part of it of respecting that gift and knowing it's what I do, but it's not just me. So there's a part of it of respecting it, almost bowing down to it, and then there's a part of appreciating my participation in it. So when I, say that, I don't know what to call what I do, and explain it to people, then they
Mhm.
get it because they get the spirit of it behind it. So that's what
So if you, this is going to be hard then. So
it's okay.
what have you done for, you've worked with many
Yes.
people now, so maybe just give a couple of examples, like practical examples of what you've done over the
Okay.
years.
Um, so yeah, someone that I'm working with now is was kind of good because so sometimes I know very specific things about people. Sometimes it's not so much like that. It's just kind of this gray or dark energy around them, and I don't even get to see the details. So that's how it is with this person. And then a little while ago, saw this image of this person being like in a cocoon and coming out of it.
Mm,
And I didn't mention it to him because I don't like to put things in people's head. But the next time I
mm,
talked to them, they said, "Oh, I had so much energy. I was able to do a double shift and not feel tired." And they were just having a lot of trouble with their energy and feeling kind of down.
mhm.
I just felt so much better. So that's general. Someone I recently helped had some thyroid issues that uh, looks way better now. So what I do is definitely the spiritual part. It's just a lot of times there's, you know, physical benefits. Always what I'm doing is lining people up with their spiritual path and
Mhm.
connecting them into that.
So is it okay to call yourself a healer,
Yeah,
energetic
a
healer?
lot of people do
Or,
that, so that's fine. Yeah, I don't anything that used to bother it bothers me a little, but that's okay.
but
Yeah,
would you say you're using energy to
yeah,
help
yeah,
heal?
yeah.
And so that sounds like energetic healer, I guess.
It is. Yes, it is. I don't mean that. It just everything is so much smaller than it is. That's the thing. Any
Ah,
labeling is that's how it is.
and
So
do you get images, did you say?
yes, I
Or
get
do you get
images. So I
downloads of information?
sometimes I see things in my inner vision. Sometimes I see things like out here.
Mm,
Sometimes I just hear things, or sometimes know things.
wow.
You know,
That's now, did these develop over time? Was one stronger in your earlier years and they kind of developed?
yes, the thing that was strongest in the beginning was my hands-on healing, which still is there. So when I put my hands on people, you can feel the energy a lot of times. Well, I always say my hands get warm. To me, it doesn't feel like my hands are warm. The person I'm
Mhm.
touching, it feels like my hands are warm. To me, it feels like they're getting warm.
Oh,
And then that, so that's,
so can you do long distance, distance healing as well?
yes, that's what I do. I
Oh,
don't see people in person very much at all anymore. I work on Zoom or Skype or sometimes just on the phone.
so the couple, we were kind of getting close to running out of time. I want to
Okay.
make sure and get in a the current projects you're working on and how listeners can connect with you. But before that, is there anything else that you wanted to share? I'm kind of curious if you think people can learn, be trained how to do what you do.
They can some, depending on the individual person. And if you're wanting to do that, it's like anything. Some people just have natural abilities at it. And so
Mhm.
it takes that thing of keeping going and understand you just never really get it. And there's always more to do is really important. And take it seriously. Take care of yourself energetically. I talk to a lot of people who do counseling or healing. They do not meditate. It's important to meditate. Journal writing is probably the next most important thing.
Oh,
And there's other things of doing energy clearing. I do Tai Chi, I do yoga. I mean, I take it seriously. So I
okay.
encourage people to do that. But it is like, being an athlete. Some people are, a lot of people can play sports. Some people are really
Right.
good. Some people are not. So it's like anything if you
Mm.
have a calling for it. But finding your calling, I think, is really important. And we talked about being a parent. I mean, what greater blessing is there in the world than that? You know what I mean? That's the most spiritual thing. I used to be a cook in Colorado. I love that. My son's an artist. He really loves that. It's if you could find that thing, whatever it is, it
Hmm.
really
That
is
brings you joy.
that brings you
And
joy and clicks inside of you, gets
mhm,
your that magic in you going. I think
mhm,
that's important, and don't get caught up in thinking it has to be healing work. If you're doing spiritual work, it could be anything. Being a teacher, being an electrician, being so many things. I've seen people that magic comes inside of them. It's like, wow, that is so cool.
yes. Yeah, absolutely. Everything you're saying is resonating with me right now. So I so before we get into, is there anything else that you wanted to share? And please take that time, but I am also interested in any current projects,
Yeah.
books, and of course we'll link all of this in the description as well.
Yeah, I don't, I always have things I'm writing, but I don't know if I'll ever write a book, but I do my YouTube channel. I'm always making videos and,
Oh,
there are a
okay,
lot of
cool.
tools on there. I recently started doing TikToks, which is kind of fun, and my website. Those are the uh,
Main
things I do.
ways.
Current projects, I always look for places to do things like this, sometimes do live question and answers. I don't have anything specific planned right now. Actually, I'm going to plan to do a healing circle at the church Unity of Montclair,
Oh,
and it'll probably be online, so I'll be able to post that, and I'll
oh,
also
cool.
maybe plan a workshop there. They're great people there at Unity of Montclair.
Wow.
Yeah,
So lots going on.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna
As I said, the biggest thing I'm doing is helping my daughter choose a college.
parenting first.
Yes, definitely, 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 definitely.
This is so awesome. Yeah, I'm going to put all of those links in the description.
Yeah,
Um, I've, I'm kind of excited. I want to kind of connect to all of the things that you're talking about and
yeah,
join up in some of those things.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, I guess we're quickly out of time here. It goes by
Yeah.
so quickly.
It does. So yeah, on my website, if people, I mean, the way to really get this is to do sessions with me, really, because you feel it and you just really connect, and you can do that on my website. There's ways to make appointments right on there.
Okay, appointments on the website. Very good to know. Wonderful. Gosh, thank you so much,
You're welcome.
Dr.
It was
Brock,
a
for
pleasure.
sharing your amazing experiences with us and all of this great resource information for us. So I guess we're gonna have to sign off. Thank you everyone for joining us and for listening. And I hope you've enjoyed this interview. This has been Julie McVeigh with Unordinary Made Ordinary. And I really hope you join us next time for another fascinating interview. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. I'm supposed to be saying that. I haven't been saying this. You're supposed to be saying this, Julie. Give it a
Gotta
thumbs
subscribe.
up.
Hit subscribe is
If
right.
you like this type of content, of course, please subscribe, hit the bell icon so you're alerted to future videos and interviews. I hope you are having a great day wherever you are, or evening, wherever you are on the planet or off the planet. And yeah, we'll see y'all next time. Bye-bye.